Hello and welcome to my Let's Take a Look at UnderRail, which was released today. A release date that was actually moved forward a few days. That's pretty uncommon, but I am not complaining. So what is UnderRail? UnderRail is an old school isometric CRPG with turn-based combat, heavily inspired by the original Fallout. One of the true and proper CRPG classics, of course. It has been in development for quite a while and in early access for about 2 years, I believe. Now, this game has undergone a few major changes along the way, among which a different name. Originally it was introduced as Time-Lapse Vertigo, and fortunately a switch was made from real-time with pause to turn-based combat. UnderRail is set in a distant future when life on Earth's surface has been made impossible. The remnants of humanity now dwell in the UnderRail, a vast system of metro station states that are the last bastions of a fading race. So, post-apoc, great. The player takes control of one of the denizens of such a station state, whose life is about to become much more interesting and dangerous as our protagonist is caught in the midst of conflicting factions in the UnderRail, as they violently struggle to survive in the harsh underground environment. Or so the website states. So let's get started. Immediately you will have to make two important choices. First, the difficulty. Now, according to the developers, normal is the way the game is meant to be played. So, unless you are a grizzled early access alpha veteran, normal is probably recommended. And if early access was any indication, the combat will prove to be challenging enough. Then the experience system. There is a classic system where you get XP for killing enemies, using certain skills and completing quests. The oddity system will give you XP for collecting the so-called oddities scattered across UnderRail and also for completing quests. The oddity experience system promotes exploring and makes grinding basically useless. Now, as a result, you will have a little bit less control over your leveling process. So if you need that and like to be rewarded for killing each enemy, which is understandable, I guess, you should go for the classic experience system. In this Let's Take a Look, I will go for the unique oddity system, however. Now, next up, the attributes or abilities as the game calls them. It is crucial to note that the skills, I'll get to those later, are actually affected by their corresponding ability score. Every point in an ability above 4 increases the effective value of the dependent skills by 8.5%, while every point below 4 decreases it by 10%. So that is something to keep in mind. Add to that the fact that certain feats have a ability and skill requirement, and it should be clear that UnderRail actually encourages you to plan your character ahead. So a little bit of reading up on the attributes, their linked skills, and the all important feats is certainly recommended. Now, there are a lot of viable character types, but jack of all trade characters, or maybe better phrased, those who ignore the synergies between abilities and skills, will probably not prosper in UnderRail. The gameplay is concentrated around exploration and combat, so that take that into consideration when creating and planning your character. And make sure to have at least one solid offensive and one solid defensive skill. The skills represent your character's competence and knowledge in specific topics. You gain 40 points every level, except at character creation, where you have 120 points to spend. You cannot increase any given skill beyond its maximum for your current level, which is 10 plus 5 per level. This means you can max out 8 of the 22 available skills on each level up, since you get 40 points, or split your skill points into more skills. And while planning your character, keep in mind that the current level cap is 25. Now my character in this Let's Take a Look will be a stealthy and observant crafter who can improvise, or more precise, hack or lockpick his way into anything, and he will use crossbows as his main weapon, supported by traps. Something of a mix between a hardcore survivalist, a mad scientist and MacGyver. Also, I want this character to take full advantage of the very detailed and rewarding crafting system. So I will take a lot or maybe all of the technology skills. So let's create the character. Name will be Angus. Strength 3. Strength is important for characters using melee, and it determines carry capacity. Dexterity will be 8. The supported skills are lockpicking and traps, and dexterity determines combat initiative, very important, together with agility. Agility will also be 8. Supported skill is stealth, and apart from combat initiative, it determines movement. Each point above 5 increases movement points in combat by 3. Next, Constitution. This will be 5. Determines health and fortitude. Perception. The supported skills are crossbows. This determines detection. Will 3. This ability is needed when you want to use the side skills, and these are the major spell equivalents in UnderRail. Intelligence 5. Supported skills are hacking, mechanics, chemistry and biology. So yeah, intelligence is not that high, but I think it is sufficient for the character I want to build, hopefully. Now the skills, let's see. Crossbows 15, stealth 15. Now the stealth skill is implemented in a very interesting way in this game. It uses several detection levels, and of course enemies can be stealthy too. In this character it will also function as the main defensive mechanism, and it is very useful when placing traps. Hacking 15, lockpicking and traps 15. And the crafting skills, mechanics, chemistry and biology, all 3 will be at 15. I will keep a few skills on the reserve list. Now first priority will be the crafting skills, tailoring and electronics, and next will be throwing for grenades. These will be developed more slowly with an emphasis on tailoring, probably when some of my character's main crafting skills are at the desired levels. And for biology and chemistry, this will be below the maximum value. Now what are the risks for this character? Defensively, he relies on stealth. He cannot wear heavy armor since he lacks the necessary strength. And he has no dodge or evasion. Now this will hopefully be mitigated by the superbly crafted stealth armor and energy shield emitters. At least that is the plan. Fortitude, meanwhile, determined by constitution, strength and will, is pretty low. Offensively, Angus will focus on crossbows. Now this fits the survivalist type character I have in mind, and recently a noise system was added to the game. And what does that mean? Well, from the developer's log, the noise system works in a simple manner. Certain actions, mostly related to combat, such as firing weapons, grenade explosions, yes, those are pretty loud usually, emit a certain level of noise that travels through the map, with walls and other obstacles dampening their propagation. This will mean that certain weapons, crossbows, knives and silenced pistols, will now have an edge over other weapon types when doing a stealth assassination. In addition to this, a lot of NPCs will now holler for help on their turn if they are not stunned or incapacitated. So it is important to dispose of them quickly and silently if you want to avoid fighting the whole camp. And you probably will want to avoid that. So silent weapons, kind of important. And crossbows have better energy shield penetration and can also provide nice debuffs early on, because with the help of chemistry and biology I will be able to make specialized balls covered in poison or chemical substances. So there is that advantage too. Now getting back to the risks, another one is the low carry capacity, but that can be rectified with a feat immediately, and that is probably necessary to carry all the crafting materials and other stuff. Now if it all works out as planned, Angus will never be in need of cash, since he can sell his quality crafted goods and extracted ingredients. Well, that is the plan anyway. I did want to include some social skills, but it's probably not possible with this character. There are just not enough points available. So, choices. As for the feats, finally, I'll start with aimed shot and pack red hound, and at level 2 I will probably take nimble. This will lower the armor penalty. Very helpful, because this armor penalty reduces dodge, evasion, stealth and movement by a percentage. Now I did go through the introductory quests a few times with different characters, but never exceeded level 5, so a large portion of the game will still be new and fresh to me too. And with that, let's get the game started.